Good afternoon. Thank you, Pierre. First of all, I must apologize for not being carrying a violin and helping by soothing you with violin music. I am not capable of doing that. I will try to be capable of explaining Sociocide to you briefly. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank Pierre and the International Organising Committee for bringing me on board as one of the legal advisors. We legal advisors have stayed in the background on purpose, and it's with great caution that I come forward, because the question of sociocide needed to be further discussed briefly. But I want to use this opportunity to thank the other lawyers, especially Professor Eric David, who has worked on all the sessions of the tribunal, and a lot of his work in drafting all of the legal documents in each session has to be commended. I also want to just mention briefly John Reynolds, Shubha Srinivasan, Noura Arakat, Victor Katan and Andrew Sanger. These are various lawyers who participated and assisted the jury in each session, in particular in the last few sessions, the case of John Reynolds and myself. Now, in relation to sociocide, let me be clear and let me be relatively brief. It's already been determined in the New York session that sociocide as a phenomenon exists and applies to the case of the Palestinian people. That is not controversial so far as this jury is concerned. However, the jury also found, unanimously, as I understand it, that it's not an international legal wrong recognized as such under public international law, or for that matter, a crime under international criminal law. That is a matter for future work. And the tribunal wants to emphasize, and I want to emphasize, in raising sociocide again on this occasion, that because of what I've just said, the focus of the tribunal remains and must remain on all the actions that are necessary to put an end to the recognized crimes of Israel against the Palestinian people, and all the work that the tribunal has done to explain what they are, explain the complicity of third-party states, of international organizations and of corporations. And that can and must remain the focus of the work of the tribunal, and the work on sociocide therefore has to be future work, which the tribunal unanimously encourages, and a paper which I've presented on sociocide, which I understand will be published in full, discusses the context within which the jury has looked at sociocide again. So I want to offer on this occasion, very briefly, first of all, the findings on sociocide and what it consists of as discussed in New York, and then I want to offer a possible legal definition for the future that could be worked on. And finally, just comment on that legal definition. And I hope not to trespass into the time available to the remaining jurors, so let me be quick. Israel's policy with respect to the Palestinian people amounts to a sociocide by dint of the widespread and systematic destruction of Palestinian social and political structures and of material and immaterial elements of shared identity. That was the finding in New York. The finding in New York was based on the fact that there is a widespread and systematic destruction of Palestinian social and political structures taking place in Palestine through the continuing military occupation of the territories occupied by Israel, the continuing building of settlements, the construction of a wall that places part of the Palestinian territory out of reach of the Palestinian Authority, and finally, through the blockade of the Gaza Strip, Israeli authorities have materially impeded Palestinians to organize a political structure that would be fully able to administer them as a distinct national group. Now, to my mind, what this actually describes is something that's well recognized as an international wrong, which is the denial, the prevention of the Palestinian people from exercising their clear, unequivocal right to self-determination. That, to me, is what sociocide at its core is about, and a legal definition moving forward that I propose for discussion in the future is as follows. Sociocide means any of the following acts when committed as part of a widespread or systematic attack directed against a population of people living in non-self-governing territory or a territory under foreign military occupation with intent to prevent the people from exercising their collective right to self-determination. And those following acts are killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to prevent its continued collective existence, and in particular, from governing itself or exercising its right to self-determination, annexing territory, separating people with the purpose of disintegrating or fragmenting a society of people so as to prevent it from governing itself or exercising its right to self-determination. Transferring the civilian population or military forces of an occupying power to an occupied territory with the purpose of disintegrating or fragmenting a society of people so as to prevent it from governing itself or exercising its right of self-determination. Erecting physical barriers and forcibly dividing territory with the purpose of disintegrating or fragmenting a society of people so as to prevent or severely impede it from governing itself or exercising its right of self-determination. And then it would follow from that that the following acts would become punishable: sociocide, conspiracy to commit sociocide, direct and public incitement to commit sociocide, attempt to commit sociocide, and complicity in sociocide. Now, that's a proposed definition which needs further work, and the jury, I believe, has supported, in the conclusions which are going to be published this afternoon, work to be done on that in future. This would apply to the peoples of the Western Sahara and to the Palestinians under occupation. It also applies directly and immediately to all the non-self-governing territories, which are not well known amongst many people, but where colonial powers have still not enabled those peoples to exercise their right to self-determination. What is at the heart of all this is that we recognise clearly that all the acts that are brought together to create this, if you like, this new crime of sociocide, there is nothing new in those criminal acts. They're all criminal in themselves. And what lies at the heart of them is a colonial project which continues. The colonisation of Palestine continues and has to be stopped and acted on through all the measures that have been described by the tribunal. And in future, work could be done through the discussions on sociocide as a further plank of action. But there remains so much to do on what we've already recognised that, I repeat, nothing that I've said about sociocide is intended to supplant the work that the tribunal has already done on the well-recognised crimes that Israel is committing and which need to be stopped, so that we don't have to talk about sociocide in the future because we will have stopped all the existing crimes. Thank you very much.